Welcome, everybody. So glad you could spend some time with us today. My name is Jim Friend, and I'm the Director of Mission Advancement at St. John Vianney Center. And today we're going to speak with our CEO, David Schellenberger, to discuss the new Day of Prayer for the health and wellness of our clergy and men and women religious worldwide. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Jim. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I just want to encourage everyone who's watching or listening to our podcast that you should like and subscribe to this episode so that you can be notified of any future episodes as they come up, because we will be continuing to produce our podcasts over the summer. Well, let's get our conversation started perhaps first by defining kind of the importance of our mission. David, when you think about the importance of supporting clergy and men and women religious, what are some of the challenges that you see them facing in 2023?
Well, thank you, Jim. And I appreciate that we can put it in the context of 2023. One that I would say, I kind of have five to go over, but we'll do them one at a time. The first one that comes to mind is really about the idea of being asked to do more with less. The increased demands and the realities of parish life and many of the other ministries that our clergy and religious support is that they are being asked to do more, but yet their resources continue to dwindle. We know that vocations continue to be a concern, not only to the priesthood, but also religious life. We also know that our beloved clergy and religious are also aging. The challenges and the stresses of the aging process, and also the realities for those that oversee them, our diocesan administration and our men and women religious in the leadership positions, are trying to also facilitate healthcare support. And many of them continue to be ill-equipped with an infrastructure and experience to be able to care for them as they age, all the while trying to meet the demands of what the realities of parish life and our current ministerial responsibilities deal with.
Boy, I see that in my own parish, and I've seen that in so many dioceses that I've worked in over the years, that not only that, but they don't see, it's maybe that sense of isolation that there's nobody coming behind them. They don't see a younger generation of priests who are going to relieve them someday. And so there's got to be a sense of, well, what's going to happen next, and maybe a little bit of anxiety that might come with that.
Certainly, which brings me to my point number two, really, which is along with being asked to do more with less, there's the strong possibility that our clergy and religious are feeling isolated and then deal with the effects of loneliness. Now, isolation and loneliness are certainly two different things. However, in today's world, for our clergy and religious, they can be equally isolated and lonely. There's a certain part, like you mentioned, what's next? The worry, the anxiety about that can actually lead to the withdrawing and being isolated, or the feelings of loneliness like, well, it's just me. And what if something happens to me? Will the ministry continue? And we also know that rectory and community life has taken on a different meaning during the past 25 years. But there is hope there. I've been made aware that there is intentionality and a movement of trying to bring clergy and religious back to community. As groundswell of opportunities for parishes over the past 50 years of growth, now we see the reality of some shrinking, as well as ministerial opportunities for our religious. They had to go far and wide to spread their ministry, and now they're coming back to community. So I was happy to learn of quite a few dioceses around the United States that are looking at having the men live together to create that rectory and that community experience, as well as the men and women religious communities. As they contract and come together, people are coming back to be together, which we hope that the fruits of that and the positivity behind it will be is less dealing with feeling isolated and less effects of loneliness. And this continues to be one of the things that we work on, and an overall concern for their well-being.
Well, that makes so much sense, and even it's even theological. There's a theological aspect to it, in that we were made to be in relationship, And so putting our priests in or our clergy or religious, separating them or isolating them is not how God meant for us to live and to function. So that's very edifying to hear that there's that movement happening nationwide.
So the third one that I think about is just that age old thing of stress. So as human beings, we all deal with stress. But there's one thing to be able to deal with stress and effectively manage it. What we find throughout our outreach to clergy and religious is really that cumulative effect of stress. No matter what, us as laity and those that just care and love for our clergy and religious have to understand that there is no immunity for dealing with the mounting workloads that negatively affect their mind, body, and spirit. Many of our clergy and religious have little training or little education around proper methods to actually manage chronic stress. It's chronic stress is one of the drivers behind suffering emotionally, physically, and spiritually. We have found that as the demands of the faithful go up, as the demands of dioceses, religious communities, ministerial opportunities, it's that cumulative and chronic nature of the stress that really takes their toll. One thing, as a positive, I always like to interweave the positive. One of the things that clergy and religious are really good at is dealing with a specific crisis that is isolated to that event. They are very good at that. We've seen that time and time again with our priests, our brothers, our sisters. When we need them, they are there for us and they can handle that. But it's that cumulative and chronic stress that really is the driver behind some of them suffering emotionally, physically, and spiritually.
And there's no magic pill or there's no magic shot that they get when they become ordained that inoculates them from stress. They're humans and they deal with it just like the rest of us. So that makes complete sense.
And then one of the other things that often comes to my mind is just the lack of volunteerism. Another sobering reality is that we as parishioners and the receivers of care, services, and ministries really is the decrease of participation by the laity. While I'm not casting a wide net to say that this affects every parish and every ministry, but it certainly is a common theme that we hear about repeatedly. The other angle is the desire for the laity to volunteer for a specific thing. So we know what our time and our talents are. And sometimes when that is not available, we choose not to then participate. But we love when those opportunities to do so. But what I would encourage us to do as laity is that all help is good help. And it may not be exactly what we believe we can help with, but believe me, in talking to my friends that are priests and sisters and brothers, we just need to be flexible. And we need to take the approach of helping where the need is. And by doing that, we actually help some of the things that we were talking about just earlier. We're going to help to alleviate the stresses and the worry that comes by clergy and religious. How can we perform this ministry? How can we have this event if I don't have the help to do it? This is what we hear from our clergy and religious. And we can all help in some way to make things run smoothly and really be that great sense of support.
I was reading a book just in the last 6 months, actually, David, about the fact that volunteerism has really been on a sharp decline nationally, not just in the Catholic Church, but really in all walks of life, because there's been a less of a sense, at least the study that I read, that there's a less sense of belonging or community like they had perhaps 20 or 30 years ago. And I think with the advent of the internet, with Zoom and the COVID and the rest of it, it's only encouraged folks to maybe pull back more. So I think that just makes complete sense. And I think meeting people where they're at and just finding some way to plug in and some way to get involved with your parish. And it's funny, I a couple that I know pretty well, they had not gotten involved. They were very involved pre-COVID. And really, since COVID, they had not been as involved. They were a lector, they're in the choir, they did a bunch of stuff. It's only now that they're saying, you know what, I miss that. I miss that part of my life and I want to get involved again. And that really builds on the sense of community and strengthens our faith in so many ways. So we get a lot out of it, I think, as the laity. And we must, I'm sure many people are missing that aspect of their life. So that makes perfect sense. And it provides tremendous support for our pastors and our clergy. Maybe we should spend a little bit of just a few minutes today talking about some of the things that we're already doing to support our men and women in church ministry.
Absolutely. Happy to talk about this part of our ministry here at St. John Vianney Center. Like all quality healthcare organizations, we also offer prevention through our consultation, education, and outreach department. We provide the workshops to diocesan clergy and religious communities on a variety of topics, such as dealing with stress, as we mentioned earlier, the importance of self-care, managing your emotional and spiritual well-being, and so much more. We have this rich 77 years of experience to share with the church. It's through these offerings that we empower our clergy and religious to maintain their well-being. We do these through education days, ongoing formation days, community days, convocations, through Zoom and through our website. We love this part of our ministry because if we can offer the prevention so that the men and women are well equipped with these pearls of wisdom that they can incorporate into their life to stay healthy in mind, body, and spirit, then we have truly achieved our goal of having a healthier church.
Well, David, that just makes so much sense. I was so edified when I first came to St. John Vianney Center and was so pleased to see how many preventative education programs that we have and how many dioceses and religious communities that we have worked with around the country. Not only are we there when someone needs to come and spend some time with us as a resident, but providing those support services and being so proactive is so incredibly important. And that was one of the things that really energized me to become more involved with our mission. Well, let's go ahead and talk for a few minutes now about the topic of the hour, our day of prayer. As you and I know, we spent a little time with our board of directors recently and put together our 5-year strategic plan. And in planning, we spent a little time with our advancement committee. And so maybe talk a little bit about how the genesis of this day of prayer came about. And I know it's something that you all have talked about at St. John Vianney even before I came on board for quite some time.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, the idea came out of our strategic plan with our board. And as staff, we discussed the idea for quite some time. And it was this synthesis of intentionality, really, about how can we have this day of prayer. Really the spark that lit this was the newest addition to our board of directors, which is Monsignor Roberto Garza. He proposed it as something to consider and really to get on our schedule. And we feel like now is the right time. As we just spoke about earlier, all of the mounting needs for our clergy and religious, there's now never a better time to try to engage our laity, the clergy, religious, everybody from around the world, really, to support our church ministers in this larger forum by having our day of prayer. The highlight of the day will be a live stream mass from our chapel here on campus at St. John Vianney Center. And it will include our chaplain, Father David Braska, as well as Monsignor Garza.
That's excellent. And I'm very excited about this. And I think it'll engage more folks in our mission, but also it'll raise awareness of the need to support our men and women in church ministry. What we're going to do is we will leave a link in our show notes to our day of prayer. If you go to our website and you type in /day of prayer, it'll come up. And I believe we'll have a link on our homepage where you can sign up for more updates and be a part of it. We have a logo that parishes can put on their website or dioceses or religious communities, and then link it to our Day of Prayer landing page where we will live stream this. It'll be live stream also from our YouTube channel. So I encourage you to visit our YouTube channel and subscribe. You can sign up for email updates follow us on social media, and we promise to keep everyone up to date as this develops. There's also prayers of intention, prayers of the faithful for that day, for our clergy. If you'd like to use those as part of your mass intentions for the day, we would be so grateful. We hope that this raises awareness and provides more support, especially in the eyes of our laity, who I think we all recognize the shortage of clergy, the shortage of men and women religious around the country, but maybe we haven't all stopped to think the stresses that have impacted them, not only prior to COVID, but even after COVID, and all the other stresses that kind of came with that. So, David, any closing thoughts today?
My closing thoughts would be is that one thing that we love to do is to spread our mission and ministry worldwide. And the Day of Prayer on October 20th really offers that opportunity. So I encourage all of our listeners and all our viewers today to get involved and to sign up for the updates. One thing that we can all do is to pray, and to pray for the health and wellness of our clergy and religious, and for their ongoing spirit. Without them, we don't receive the sacraments, we don't receive the ministries, we don't receive the care that we all desire. And I just encourage everybody to get involved. And if you'd like to learn more about our mission and ministry, I'm certainly available, as you are, Jim, to always discuss all that we do here at St. John Vianney Center to support our beloved clergy and men and women religious.
Well, that is so well said, David. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. I want to thank all of our listeners, all of our watchers who are with us today for this video. And just be aware that we will be sending more content out and more updates as we get closer to our Day of Prayer throughout the summer and into the early fall. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, David, for spending some time with us. And we wish God's blessings on everyone who is with us today.